You're watching TVC Breakfast. It is the last day of a three-day retreat organized for senior officers of the Nigeria Police.
The event tagged repositioning the force for the challenges of effective policing in the 21st century. It's aimed at dissecting the dynamics of crime and forging strong networks towards tackling prevalent and emerging crimes in the country.
The police have increasingly come under fire for their methods as violent crimes like kidnapping, banditry, terrorism have been on the rise. It is expected that at the end of the retreat, strategic managers of the force would have been sufficiently equipped with new policing approaches, guidelines and tools towards effectively addressing prevailing and emerging crimes in the country. Well, joining us now is Hostile Environment and Security Consultant Femi Aratokunwale. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Yeah. There's been calls for the reform of the police over the years, and we see that a retreat has been held, which is ending today, a three-day retreat for senior officers in the police. But for you, when we talk about reforming or repositioning the police force, what do you envisage, or what is it to you, basically?
Basically, when we talk about reforms, what we're actually trying to say is to see how we can change the orientation, the mentality, and the structure in the police institution that we have in Nigeria. The question is this: are they ready to embrace the change? And
that is why we have a retreat. And
the answer is yes. They are actually changing. The change is now on with the Nigerian police force, which I personally can actually testify to it, at least from what I've seen on ground. Yes, they are making efforts. To the member of public, they might not yet see things being done, but strategically behind the scene, a lot is going on.
What do you think are the efforts they're making towards reforming the police?
Well, part of the efforts they are making towards reforming the police is, number one, they've started what we call the internal ongoing training programs within the Nigerian police sector, within different divisions. So that one is taking place right now, especially in Lagos State. And I can see that going a long way, which I personally happen to be part of the reforms, in making sure that, yes, the change they wanted, the change they've asked for is actually happening.
But when you look at the security situation in the country, we talk about kidnapping, banditry, insurgency, and all the likes.
Yeah.
Is a reformation of the police force what would give the police force the capacity to really address these issues? Because over time, what we see is the army being deployed to address these issues in several states.
You see, don't let us undermine the fact that they really want to do their job, but the question is they don't be really funded. This is the big question, and this is the big issue we should be talking about when we talk about the reform. The fact is this: if you go to any police station, which I have visited recently, some of them are completely not what you really want a reform to look like. I was at the task force office yesterday, and I can see a different police station, a different police institution. I was at, the state CID on Monday, and I can see that, yes, they want this reform. They're actually doing their best, but their best is still not enough. So we want the government to fund them the more. We want the community to support.
Funding them via the Police Trust Fund. And of course, they are budgeted for in the 2019 budget.
Well, when you talk about the state trust fund budget, the question is if they have their own jurisdiction, what they can actually do, not what we all think should be happening is actually happening there. Politically, a lot might be going on, but what we want is this: we want to see the total reform. It's not just going to happen just like that. It's going to be a gradual process.
But what you said you have seen, you went to the station. Those are structures.
Yes.
Now, it's about, the interrelationship between the police and the people. We hear that police is your friend, but what you see around, it's not that friendliness.
Of course, as a consultant, this is where the changing of the orientation now comes in. We are putting a lot into place to make sure that, yes, we change their concept, we change their mindset towards the member of public and how public should relate to them as well. Remember, when you talk about relationship between police and the community, it takes two to tango.
Absolutely.
And we need to understand the fact that sometimes community might even be hostile more to them, and this might get to their wrong side,
but
which is not meant to be.
It is not meant to
It's
be,
not
but
meant to be, don't
sometimes
get me
something
wrong.
triggers something.
Over the years.
Agreed. Something
You
will
know,
trigger. It's over the
If
years.
I do not trust you enough, I have to be, I might be hostile
This
to
is
you.
why we need to change the mindset and the orientation of the Nigerian police force first, before we start thinking about, okay, how do we now put it together to the community? How do we now make an open situation that, yes, community, you need to engage with us. You need to have a system in place whereby we can work and collaborate together. Remember, whatever we do, all the police want is this. They want information so that they can at least mitigate the crime we have in the society. And I think right now they are beginning to think towards that area, and they are communicating very well with that.
Femi Aratokunle, thank you for your time on
Thank
TVC
you so
Breakfast. Watching TVC Breakfast. It is the last day of the 3-day retreat organized for senior officers of the Nigeria Police.
The event tagged Repositioning the Force for the Challenges of Effective Policing in the 21st Century is aimed at dissecting the dynamics of crime and forging strong networks towards tackling prevalent and emerging crimes in the country.
The police have increasingly come under fire for their methods as violent crimes like kidnapping, banditry, terrorism have been on the rise. It is expected that at the end of the retreat, strategic managers of the force would have been sufficiently equipped with new policing approaches, guidelines and tools towards effectively addressing prevailing and emerging crimes in the country. Joining us now is hostile environment and security consultant Femi Aratokunle. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Once again.
Now, the essence of this retreat that is organized by the police force is to ensure some repositioning, effective policing, so to speak.
Yep.
But then the retreat was amongst the senior officers of the force, but they are not on the field. How do we ensure effective policing when the people on the field are not part of this retreat?
I think one thing we need to understand is this. Let us see what the outcome of this retreat is going to be, or what they're going to be, what's going to be their fact findings at the end of the day, which we all know as members of public that, yes, we want effective policing in our community. And the question is this. We've raised it so many times, even in the West, everywhere, all over the world are really concerned about the issue of policing in Nigeria. Number one, let me give you a very simple situation we have. If you go on your Google map or on your Google network and just type in Nigerian police playing with kids, you will hardly see any serious pictures showing what we are doing. But if you type in US police playing with kids, different pictures will show straight away. So it speaks a lot of volume, but we need to start managing and changing this strategy. How do we change it? We have DPOs in different police stations, right?
Absolutely.
When was the last time any DPO must say, okay, fine, let me visit the mosque and pray with them on Friday, or on Sunday, let me go to the church?
Of course, they would have religion.
They have, but within their district, where they police, where they are managing, where they secure, member of public should be able to know that. I'm not saying go to all churches, but at least pick one or two at some point in time, or might be delegate somebody to go somewhere and represent. Again, during school period, during the peak period.
How does that translate to effective policing?
It does, because what we're trying to do is this: how do you communicate with the community? Because transformation and the reforming has to do with police and the community.
Well, what my attention is on the aspect of training and retraining, and those on the field are not part of this training. That's the issue.
Thank you so much. That's a very good question. I think you're actually trying to put me straight to the spotlight.
Yeah.
Some years ago, I think I met with one of these officers in United Kingdom. She came to me and, we had a good discussion. She invited me down to Nigeria. We had a good discussion and we had a training program at Ijede Ikorodu over there. Then later on, she introduced me to so many police stations which I went to. Her name is Tokunbo Abaniwada. She's still serving and she's still leading the forefront. Again, she introduced me to another police station, which I went 3 days ago. That was on Monday at the State CID Yaba. I met with the DCP over there, Yetunde Longe. She was so welcoming and she embraced this reform, and she actually called all the whole officers to come and partake in this training program, and they are working.
Like what she's saying now, it's beyond one man trying to do a reform.
It is all about leadership.
It's all about leadership, but this retreat happened, today is the end of the retreat. And so if the followers are not in sync with the leadership, it means that it will be difficult for the leaders in the police force to lead the police force
to translate
everything
that
they have
training.
You see, basically, the training has got to be well funded. But within our own capacity, within all these people I've mentioned capacity, they are doing their best. It is now left for the community, the government, to now see how best they can actually support this reform they are talking about. It is now left to see how can we actually ensure that we make this reform work in terms of training. The training needs to be actually done the right way and has to be done within the lower officers and the senior officers as well.
If we consistently have trainings for the Nigerian police, does it change the mindset that a lot of the public have about them? And one, does it also change the attitude they have towards the public?
Of course, yes, it's definitely going to change, because change doesn't just start instantly and end instantly. It is a gradual process, because we have a very big gap between the police and the member of public. Now we need to look for how do we close this gap, how do we have this open mind to make sure that the community will start trusting the police. And it starts with one thing: the police will look for a way, a strategy to engage with the member of public, not the other way around by harassing them. I'm not saying they are actually doing that a whole lot, but yes, we have some within the community or some within the police officers that will definitely do all this.
How does training tackle the issues of corruption?
It will definitely, because you see, the government has got a bigger role to play in this situation. They are not funded. Let us call it the way it should be. We need to see a situation whereby we see the police being well funded so that they don't start begging the member of public.
How well funded can the police be?
Very well. They just have to fund them in a capacity that at the end of the day, they will be able to stand on their own. If you go report to any police officer and that you have a case or you have an incident, they will ask you, bring money for petrol. Don't blame them too much. Do they have the money? Do they have the budget? They don't have it. But in paper, within the Constitution, yes, the money has been provided. So where is the fund?
So
where are the resources?
Who is tracking these funds? Anyway, Femi Aratokunle, we have to leave it at this point. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
You're watching TVC Breakfast. It is the last day of a 3-day retreat organized for senior officers of the Nigeria Police.
The event, tagged Repositioning the Force for the Challenges of Effective Policing in the 21st Century, is aimed at dissecting dynamics of crime and forging strong networks towards tackling prevalent and emerging crimes in the country.
The police have increasingly come under fire for their methods as violent crimes like kidnapping, banditry, terrorism have been on the rise. It is expected that at the end of the retreat, strategic managers of the force would have been sufficiently equipped with new policing approaches, guidelines and tools towards effectively addressing prevailing and emerging crimes in the country.
Joining us to discuss this is the Hostile Environment and Security Analyst, Femi Aratokunle. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so we have the police reform bill, and you've also talked about change in mindset and patterns of the police.
I have spoken about it.
Yes, but how will this bill, I'm sure it was talked about in the retreat, how will this ensure we have a total change and reform in the Nigeria police force?
Well, I think it is down to the political will of our politicians. And again, it's down to the integrity of the IG and its members as well to make sure that, yes, things are done the right way without cutting corners or perhaps, cutting costs. Because the moment you start cutting costs, when it comes to security, then lives and properties will definitely be at risk. So we need to ensure that this doesn't really happen. And the only thing that I think the member of public really want to say is, are the police actually changing? Their mindset and orientation has got to change, and it requires a lot of funding to make it happen.
All right. Beyond funding, one other proposal when it comes to police reforms is the aspect of state policing. I wonder what you make of this. Beyond community, where you see we have vigilante groups and all of those, but there has been calls that we have state policing that brings, the police force closer to the people.
Okay, I'm going to use a model on this very national news today. I was at the task force office yesterday, and I saw one Mr. Egbeyemi, who happens to be the chairman of this very good institution. We shared ideas, and he told me a lot of stories that I wasn't even expecting. how he's been able to empower some of the members of the community at Agege, which happens to be one of the so-called notorious area. He's told me how he's been able to do so much to mitigate the risk of security and threat to life and everything around there.
Okay.
So that is one way of state policing, which has, I believe, that's what has been funded by the states, not even by the federal government. And he explained so much to me, so I gave him credibility for what he's done.
How
and
is
I
that
said,
state policing? When you talk about state policing, is the state being able to control
yes,
the activities of the police force?
Yes, of course, because he has no reason to answer any query as regards to the federal government. His own job is to make sure that the state is safe, the environment within the state are okay. And Egbeyemi is one man that I see that is reachable. The same thing with some other DPOs around Lagos State that are reachable. So we need to see how we now expand this across board. This is exactly what can make state policing work in Nigeria. But if we don't see this work, it is not going to work. That is my own take.
Looking about this issue of state police now, like she mentioned, community-police relationship and all of that now.
Yes.
If the community do not trust the police, how will they be able to render information? And how can the police, in collaboration with the vigilante groups, work together to curb crime in different communities? Because it's also beyond empowering young ones
in the community. Yeah. You see, let's look at it from this very side again. Empowering is one thing, then communicating and relationship goes a long way. Okay. How are the police communicating with a member of public is another issue, which we need to look into. The brutality that people keep talking about.
Now, that's the aspect I'm going to.
Yes,
the aspect of human rights abuses.
I know you guys are going to bash me on that, and I'm ready to give it to you right now.
All right.
That's fine. The point is this, yes, we might have this brutality going on, but let us look at it from this angle. The police are not funded well. The training are not there.
Does that
affect
it
my
does
relationship
affect.
with
It
you?
does, because we need to check their
affect
mental health.
You understanding that I have a right.
Yes, you have
as
a
much
right.
as you do.
You have a right. But the question is what exactly do we know that the lower cadre within the police reform of the police officers do even know? Do they really know what they are doing? Because we've seen cases of people that are not even well educated enough and they are into police and they are not well trained.
But they went to the police college.
How many months, please? 6 months? Is that
Isn't
enough?
that enough?
Is the question.
That's the model.
This is where we need to have the reorientation and more training being given out to our police officers.
All right, Femi Aratokunle, thank you for your time on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you so much.